Every year on December 31st, we celebrate this as an International Day of Peace. And I'm wanting to talk with you about a couple of things today. One, how we actually can create more peace in our life and in our world. And two, the difference between visualization and visioning. So we're going to talk about peace. Peace begins with me, and then we bring that into the world. And then the power of meditation or mindfulness as it relates to creating more peace in our life and in the world. So I want to start by talking about a very simple concept, and that is many of us look to the world for peace. We want to create peace in the world. Maybe you've even thought, I need to fight for peace. And my question with that is, how is that working? And is there a different possibility? And so the invitation in this moment is to reflect and to ask yourself, is it possible not only that peace begins with me, peace begins with you, but ultimately that's the only place we will discover peace. And through that, we actually can help shift consciousness on the planet, not by what we're doing, but who we are being. I recently gave a talk called Spiritual Activism, and I explored the concept of how we can actually work for peace, stand for peace, and how that is really different than fighting against what we might call the opposite. And so if it's true that peace begins with each of us, then I ask the question, what would it take for you to create more peace in your life? In my own experience, it really involves reconnecting with my true nature and unlearning all the ideas I have created about myself and the world that create or that make me aware of division, separation, fear, anxiety, etc. And so what we're talking about here is that we actually are each holding a projector and we are projecting onto the world. Right now, in this time, December 31st, 2021, we are looking at our world and seeing a lot of seeming division and conflict, us and them, good and bad, right and wrong. We've been in this pandemic for the last 2 years, and there's been a lot of opinionating on the good, bad, right, wrong, on how people are behaving, how we're showing up. Are you wearing a mask? Are you vaccinated? And what I want to offer is a deeper possibility here. And that possibility here is honoring our differences and celebrating our oneness. And recognizing that as I make peace with myself and my inner world, I see more peace in the outer world. That does not mean we are looking away from or pretending what's happening in the world isn't happening. What it means to me is that as I discover inner peace, as I dedicate myself to a spiritual practice that includes meditation, mindfulness, reconnecting with my true nature, I'm actually a catalyst for more peace in the world. In other words, what am I making what's happening in the world mean? What are your viewpoints? What are your opinions? Maybe even judgments. What is that creating? What I want to offer is a very simple litmus test, and that is what gets created when I, and then fill in the blank. What gets created when I post an opinion on social media? What gets created when I look at the world through the lens of good and bad and right and wrong? And what might get created if I started to look for the commonality and the peace within every situation? A profound spiritual teacher came over 2,000 years ago to offer us something very simple, and that is to be in the world, but not of the world. So if you are finding yourself spending time watching the news, watching the stories that are being perpetuated about fear, separation, division, good and bad and right and wrong, what would it be like for you to unplug from that and reconnect with a deeper purpose? What would it mean for you to be the peace that the world is seeking? You see, it's a very simple and very fundamental shift that can happen right in this moment. Peace does begin with me, and I can make a choice to dedicate my time to spiritual practice, unplug from the narrative in the world, and plug into a greater reality. And here's what I know to be true. When I do that, I actually can be a part of the change that the world is needed. When I am trying to change the world in order to be at peace, I suffer and I add to the confusion and the conflict in the world. This might sound counterintuitive to you, paradoxical to you. Maybe even you're thinking, how is that possible? Am I really having a Pollyanna attitude that all I need to do is focus on me and what needs to be made peace with internally? And my short answer is yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. Imagine a world in this moment where each of us unplug from the conditions of the world and plug into a greater reality. And once we plug into that greater reality, we be that frequency in the world. And I know that's not grammatically correct, but I love that. Who am I being today? Can you stand for peace? Can you stand for love? Can you shift from the narrative of the division that's happening and recognize that in the midst of that, there is a greater reality? What I see happening in our world today is the emergence of a new consciousness. Each of us is part of that. And so, yes, peace does begin with me. And what the world is yearning for right now is more of us to do the inner work of unlearning all the beliefs and ideas we have about fear and separation and step into a greater awareness of how we can be that in the world. I think life is a great experiment. So I'm inviting you, along with me and so many other people on planet Earth right now, I invite you to be part of ushering in this new era. Peace is at hand. Peace is in this moment. Peace begins with me, and I project it out into the world, and therefore I'm part of shifting consciousness on the planet. And the second thing I want to talk with you about today is the difference between visualization and visioning. I just came out with my new book, Conscious Creation. And in this book, I lay out 5 steps to consciously creating the life of your dreams. And I want to honor my friend and colleague, Dr. Michael Bernard Beckwith, who wrote the book Life Visioning, that invited each of us to look at the difference between the law of attraction and the law of radiance. Visioning is really different than visualization. Visualization, as many of us know, is deciding what we want to create in our life and holding that thought and holding that energy and then manifesting it in the world. That is the law of attraction. Visioning is inviting us to do something really different. As we usher in a new consciousness, as we close out the year 2021, the invitation with visioning is to get quiet enough to go into meditation and to ask the inner knowing the question, what is the highest possibility for my life and the world in this moment? Visualization is holding a thought and manifesting it. Visioning is, to the best of our ability, moving beyond thought and listening very intently to the still small voice, which isn't still, nor is it small. It can actually guide our life in a very different way. Visioning is holding the intention of being open and receptive and asking a series of questions, starting with that question I introduced. What is the highest possibility for my life and the world in this moment? So in closing, what I want to ask you is, what is the highest possibility for your life as you move into conscious creation of 2022? As you open to a new way of being and seeing, as you recognize that peace is at hand right in this moment, internally, moving beyond the thoughts of fear and separation, moving into a greater awareness of the oneness that exists within all of life. You are the one you've been looking for. You are here to bring peace into the world. It is our highest calling. Thank you for taking this journey with me, from moving from the law of attraction to the law of radiance, moving away from the idea that the world needs to be at peace in order for me to be at peace or to be happy, and that there's a greater reality. It is mine to do, mine to be in the world. Peace and blessings to you. Please, if I can support you in any way, go to my Instagram, TJWoodward_. There's a link there that shows you all of my work, my books, my courses. But mostly what I want to say is, if no one has told you today, you are a whole and perfect spiritual being capable of infinite possibilities in your life and therefore in the world. Peace and blessings, and Happy New Year to you.